Hey, how's it going everybody? If you saw the thumbnail of this video and the title, you should know that I got a new bike. And of course it is a Ducati, but what it is, I'm gonna show you later. I mean, you could probably guessed it by now if you watch a lot of my videos and kind of understand what kind of bikes I like to go for. And if you like to have like 5 seconds to guess it before you type it in the comments below, I'm giving you time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, end of the session. If you guessed it, put it in the comments and see what you get. Anyway, I'm gonna show it to you right now because I'm so excited about this new bike. So, are we ready? Here we go. And of course, I got myself a Ducati Scrambler Desert Sled. I just rode it over here a while ago and it was really fun on it. I love the way it sounds, I love the way it looks, I love the way it rides. Of course, it's a bit tad heavier than I originally thought it would be. I mean, I came from a ZX-6R, I came from a DRZ 400, and of course I still have that Versys-X 300 in the stable back home. I mean, I've ridden an F800 GS, but when I looked at the bodywork of a Ducati Desert Sled, it didn't really come across to me as being just as heavy as an F800, or even heavier in fact. But on some level it is, but I'll get around to getting used to it. Anyway, I got this bike for like 22 grand, 22,000 Singapore dollars. Do I think it was worth the price I paid for it? It really depends. I mean, end of the day, it's a Ducati. Its original price when you buy it brand new would have been like 35 to 38,000 Singapore dollars. Of course, that's in Singapore where everything is fucking overpriced when it comes to motor vehicles. But I don't really regret. On some level, I probably do, considering the stingy ass I am. But on the other hand, I don't really regret that I paid 22 grand for this motorcycle. I mean, and it's a Ducati. You can't look at the bike as if it is worth the penny you paid for. It's one thing, you know. I mean, I'm buying it on the same basis as pretty much any Ducati owner. We just want it. We've got like small PPs and we want to overcompensate by splurging on the most expensive bike that we can afford. I mean, there's probably a lot more expensive bikes out there. But for a Ducati, this isn't really that expensive, to be honest, considering if you were to actually dip your feet into, let's say, like the whole Panigale line brand new, that's gonna burn your pockets a lot more than a Scrambler does. In fact, if you are, in a market to try an Italian stallion or what they call that, the Scrambler lineup from Ducati is actually a great starting point because they offer a lot of I would say it's a lot more beginner friendly than most of Panigale's other offerings, and on top of that, it doesn't really break the bank as much as your other Red Menace bikes that's on the lineup. Brand new, of course. Most Ducatis kind of depreciate quite a lot after the first 3 years, which is why I actually waited about 3 years before I thought, okay, the people that bought this brand new has took like the biggest hit in depreciation and it's time to put my foot down and throw money at this thing. So I probably wouldn't have bought it brand new. 38 grand, this is definitely not worth 38 grand in my opinion as an average rider with an average salary. Of course, most people that buy Ducatis, money is not an object. But once it's dropped to about 22 grand, well, this is a lot more affordable and it makes a lot more financial sense to me to buy it. Of course, I bought it full cash, so I have less to worry about in terms of financing the motorcycle. Of course, now there are a lot of things that has to be done cosmetically because the previous owner did change a lot of the cosmetics. The main performance aspects of the bike is, for the most part, unchanged. The pipes are stock. The tires are not. They are supposed to be Pirelli Scorpion rallies, but the tires got changed to Anarchy Adventures, which really doesn't change anything about it from stock, because both tires, for the most part, should operate the same way. Got new aftermarket horn. I mean, I definitely want to get rid of the saddlebags, the top box, and the rack that goes with it, because if you know me, I really like a clean aesthetic on my bikes. I hate having bags, so those are gonna go. It came with a aftermarket fog light, very nice to have, as well as aftermarket bar clamps, bar risers, and a few other cosmetic stuff. So in fact, it sounds so good that I am glad that the previous owner, actually the previous owners, there were 5 people before me, they did not put an aftermarket exhaust on this, because this engine is freaking loud as it is already all by itself. Okay, and I'm talking about sound of the engine when you're sitting on the seat and you're hearing the roar. Most of it is coming from this part. Can you imagine if you had a louder exhaust and more noise was coming out from this end? It would be really insane, unbearable, and I wouldn't want to inconvenience my neighbors with that din. But this setup alone, it sounds amazing. It's got this really grunty, meaty, powerful sound. Anyway, I am probably going to take maybe about 6 months to a year, get used to it, really get to know the bike inside out before I put out a real review on the Ducati Desert Sled itself. And then maybe after 7-8 months, when I actually get used to riding this on the road and actually be very comfortable with it to push it to its limits, then I'll start thinking about trying to bring it off-road. Because for the most part, this is still a heavy bike. It's about 200 kilos. For comparison, my ZX-6R, a 2005 sport bike that I complained was really heavy for its class, is still 20 kilos lighter than this thing, and it's less top heavy than the Desert Sled. So yeah, I definitely would have to be really confident on this thing before I even bring it on the trails around Singapore. Not that we have a lot of technical trails, just gravel roads and hard pack, but still something to consider before I actually talk about it in retrospect. Of course, I also do want to spend that 6 months to 1 year to really understand its maintenance schedules, what its problems are like in the long term. I bought this off the previous guy at 3 years old with about close to 17,000 kilometers on the odometer. So by now it should be close to its first full servicing, although the previous owner already did the first full servicing beforehand for me, so I don't really have to do anything. But at the same time, there should be some engine wear by now that would pop up, and that's probably the most important thing that most people will want to know when they consider listening to any information about the Scrambler or any Ducati for that matter. So I hope you like this. I'm going to take this bike for a longer spin on the highway, and I'll give you a little bit of a clip of it riding around, as well as the sound of it, before I end this video, because you will love that roar. Of course, if you like this video, do remember to hit the subscribe button, click the bell notification icon, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.